Chapter 1: The Philosophy of the Margin. In the world of high-risk industry, we talk often about the factor of safety. It is a mathematical grace period, a gap between what a machine is asked to do and what it is truly capable of. Engineers build it into every bridge, every bolt, and every crane. But there is another kind of gap, one that isn't found in a manual. We call it the margin. The margin is the thin sliver of space between a routine Tuesday morning and a life-ending catastrophe. It is the distance between a hand and a lever, the seconds between a glance and an impact. This is the story of Michael Harrison. Michael was 42 years old, an experienced driver, a loved brother, and a man who understood his craft. On the morning of September 12th, Michael stepped into a world where the margin had grown dangerously thin. He didn't know it yet, but the system he trusted had a hidden flaw, a flaw that was waiting for a single human moment to reveal itself. Chapter 2: Victoria Mills. The setting was Victoria Mills, in Holmes Chapel, an old red brick relic of the industrial age, currently in the process of being dismantled. It was a site defined by rubble, heavy machinery, and the constant movement of steel. Michael arrived in his blue DAF flatbed truck. It was a vehicle he knew intimately. Mounted behind the cab was a powerful hydraulic loader crane. To the casual observer, the truck was a tool of precision. To a safety inspector, it was a collection of potential energy, held in check by a complex series of valves, sensors, and a handheld remote control. The task was simple: unload bundles of steel scaffolding. It was a job Michael had performed thousands of times. He parked the truck, checked his surroundings, and prepared the load. The morning was grey, the air was cool, and the site was operating with its usual industrial rhythm. Chapter 3: The Ghost in the Machine. To operate the crane, Michael used a remote control unit hanging from a strap around his neck. This device allowed him to move around the truck, giving him the best vantage point to see the heavy steel loads as they moved. At approximately 9:15 a.m., Michael was standing on the bed of the truck. He was positioned between a stack of scaffolding tubes and the stowed arm of the crane. He was focused on the task in front of him, leaning slightly forward to adjust a strap. In that moment, the margin vanished. As Michael leaned, the bottom of the remote control unit made contact with the sharp edge of a steel pallet. It was a subtle movement, a nudge of just a few degrees. But inside the remote, that nudge sent a signal. The crane's brain received an instruction to move. Without a sound, the heavy hydraulic arm began to swing. Michael was looking the other way. He was in the crane's blind spot, and the crane was in his. There was no warning, no alarm, only the silent, relentless pressure of industrial hydraulics. The crane arm pinned Michael against the scaffolding. In the time it took to realize something was wrong, the space he occupied had ceased to exist. Chapter 4: The Forensic Truth. The investigation that followed was clinical. The health and safety executive and the senior coroner for Cheshire looked past the tragedy to find the mechanics of the failure. They found that the remote control had a fatal design oversight. It was possible to activate the crane's movement without the operator intentionally gripping the controls. A nudge from a belt buckle or a pallet edge was enough to override the safety of the entire system. The inquest termed it a lack of isolation. The machine could not distinguish between a deliberate command from a human hand and an accidental bump against a piece of steel. Michael Harrison didn't die because he was careless. He died because the technology he was given to keep him safe had a hole in its logic. The factor of safety was present in the steel, but the margin was missing from the interface. Chapter 5: The Two-Handed Solution. Michael's death triggered a Regulation 28 report, a formal report to prevent future deaths. It sent a shockwave through the industry. The solution was deceptively simple: the two-handed operation. Modern remotes now feature capacitive sensors. The crane will not move unless the operator has a firm, intentional grip on the unit. It requires a handshake between the human and the machine. If you bump it, nothing happens. If you lean against a pallet, the crane stays silent. We have reintroduced the margin. We have built a system that acknowledges that humans will lean, they will stumble, and they will be distracted. Safety is no longer just about the strength of the cable. It is about the design of the on switch. Chapter 6: Where Stories Begin. If you go to Tildesley, to a pub called the Queen's, you might see a photo of a man with a wide smile and a kind face. Michael Harrison is remembered there as more than a statistic in an HSE report. He was a son, a partner, and a friend. We tell this story not to dwell on the tragedy of a Tuesday morning in Holmes Chapel, but to remember the lesson he left behind. Every time a driver picks up a remote today and feels that palm sensor click into place, Michael is there. Every time a crane stays still, despite an accidental bump, the margin is held. Safety isn't the absence of accidents, it is the presence of the margin. Because where safety fails, the story of what we lost begins, and it is a story we must never have to tell again.